Mikaal Bates, can you walk us through your journey from acting to becoming a men's coach?
I can. Interestingly enough, they're very similar. Both have been deeply spiritual paths for me. Most people don't think of acting in that way, but the school of acting that I trained in, which is the Meisner technique, is known for its ethos being the process of seeking to live truthfully or to do truthfully under imaginary circumstances. So from that definition, it's not acting. You have imaginary circumstances that you're playing through vis-a-vis a script and a story that you know beforehand and after, but that the life that you're creating comes from actually doing the thing. So if in the script it says, I'm furiously looking for my car keys, it's like, how do I set myself up to actually be doing that? To have a scenario going on in my head where I'm not acting like I'm looking for my car keys, I'm genuinely looking for something. So there's a pursuit of truth that I did not expect to find in that particular art form, and that truly followed me and prepared me, I think, for coaching and the men's work that I do. I think a lot of people think acting is somehow lying, and acting is, at least in my school of acting, it's the farthest thing from lying you can do. It's literally truth-telling through an imaginary circumstance. What I do with my men is truth-telling through an actual circumstance. And so the way I understand coaching or mentorship or men's work, to the degree you and I agree to tell each other the truth, you tell me the truth, I tell you the truth, you tell me the truth, I tell you the truth. If we continue doing that, there's just no way that your situation can't improve. There's no possibility that your circumstance doesn't better itself through the process of telling the truth. Now, it might not do that immediately. It might get slightly worse before it gets better. It usually does. Not because things actually get worse, but because you tend to perceive the things that you weren't noticing before. Like, you start to notice that your life is kind of a train wreck, where before maybe you were drinking or doing all these other things that you weren't aware of how challenging your life had become. And now that you start a spiritual practice, or you start coaching, or you start some form of personal development, suddenly the lights turned on in the room and you realize you're up to your own bum in bullshit, and the bullshit is yours. And so that can be a very difficult moment. And sure was for me. But that's the beginning of real transformation. It's a humbling. It's a being humbled in your own incapacity and insufficiency and challenge, because none of us are meant to do this alone. And I'm not perfect either. And don't let anyone ever tell you that they are. What makes me good at what I do is that I have my own coaches and I have my own mentors, and I'm in the ecosystem. I'm in this circle of life. Those that I'm coaching in another realm could probably be coaching me. You would probably be coaching me in jiu-jitsu, right? If we were to get on the mat. So yeah.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, as an actor myself, I also feel that it resonates the part of you have to actually live it, so it gets transmitted through the screen or through any other space, right? Was there, though, like a black or white change where you were saying, I'm acting, now I'm coaching, or was it more of a gradual transition?
It was a gradual transition. It was about a decade of time in between the two. I went to acting school in New York City. I trained at the William Esper studio. Esper was a protege of Meisner's. So very directly in that lineage. That was 2009 to 2011 that I was in the program there. And then I was in the master's program there for a number of other years. And I started coaching in 2018 was when I first began. So yeah, it was about 10 years. They were, I'm so grateful. people ask me all the time, so, oh, I want to coach. I want to be a coach. And it's like, are, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you okay? Great. So how do I be a coach? How do I be well? Okay. Go and sit in your own shit and burn in your own bullshit and your own insufficiency and inadequacy. And yeah, maybe you go to coaching school or you go get a certificate or this, that, or the other. Some of the best coaches in the world are certified. And some of the best coaches in the world have no certification whatsoever. Tony Robbins has no coaching certification. And so for me, it's like going back and looking at all of the different lives that I've lived, from being a jazz musician to an actor to just bartending in New York City for a decade. Um, there is no like degree for what I went through to become what I'm able to be. But ultimately, for me, coaching is similar to acting. I'm listening. In Meisner, right? It's this repetition practice. That's the foundational practice of Meisner technique. You can't do anything until something is done to you. And so with my clients, I sit and I listen. I leverage all of my practice, from acting to meditation to whatever, to listen to them as clearly as I can, to back them with my energy, to give them my full attention. And I believe that anyone, when given that level of awareness and attention from someone else, let alone multiple people, that generates a field of possibility, a field of openness, a field of permission, a field of encouragement that really allows someone to do the work themselves. Because I can't jump into your body, Angel, and move and coach you from the inside. You have to come to that yourself. But I can help bring things out in you, generally by listening and asking good questions that allow you to go through your own process of finding what's been there the whole time, that we've simply lost the capacity to find for ourselves in our individuated and fragmented society.
Hmm. And you talked about seeing your own bullshit, right? What started to come up for you when you start to see that bullshit?
All the things that come up for every human being. My ego starts flailing, making excuses, lying, trying to deny it, all the different ways that that we seek to avoid the difficulty of realizing that, as much as I like to think otherwise, I probably would have been a Nazi prison guard. It's like this idea that Solzhenitsyn talked about, who was the famous Russian. I believe he was an artist. I forget. It's so funny. I've spent so much time with him and his work, but he was put into the Gulag, into the Soviet Gulag, where he spent, I think, 30 years, and came out and wrote this 1,000-page testimony of what he had been through. And the most striking line for me of his whole process is that the line between good and evil runs not through religions, cultures, and creeds, but through the center of every human heart. And so the process of spiritual development or personal development is recognizing your own insufficiency, your own dark side, your own shadow, as Jung would call it, which and I really ascribe to that. It's not that there's a devil in you or a demon in you or something bad and dark and evil. It's that there's a disintegrated aspect of me that was wounded in childhood, in the way we've all been wounded in some manner or form, that has created a defense mechanism that I've been putting forth as my authentic self, when it is not at all my authentic self. It is a representative, let's say. And so when you meet people at first, right, you're generally meeting their representative. Hi there, I'm Mikaal Bates. Hello there, nice to meet. And I do the things that I think that they want. So my challenge, one of my big challenges, was codependence, and that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But that essentially being me trying to control other people's perceptions of me, which I think very well, given the relationship dynamic that we've had. of me trying to, yeah, like I need you to think of me or see me in a certain way. And what I can gratefully say is sort of shifting for me now is, as I say, the mission is becoming more important than the man. Where before, even though I would have wanted it to be the other way around, the man was more important than the mission. Me needing to be perceived in a certain way or seen in a certain way was keeping me from actually telling the full truth about the work that I do. And we can get into that more, but I think that answers the original question that you'd asked. So.
And as you're saying, right, the bullshit never stops. You've been coaching since 2018, but there were still some remnants of that happening at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's interesting, yes, the bullshit never stops. There's always going to be more to work on. But at the same time, something I discovered this year is that there's also a place to get to. There actually is a place to land in that is demonstrably and remarkably different. Like something landed for me this year in a very big way, where there is no going back in a wonderful way. Like I've landed in something has stabilized in my system. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm finished or complete or that I'm enlightened or that I'm levitating off the floor here. Not at all. But there's something in my own journey that has, like an anchor, has sort of has landed. And there's the voices, the self-negating voice that used to just pepper me nonstop is just every now and then it comes up, and there's some part of me that before my conscious mind is like, whoa, don't do that. We don't do that anymore. Something in me stops it, catches it, witnesses it. It's like there's I don't know what I want to call it, higher self, or there's something that's happened in my psyche where my psyche is no longer willing to entertain aspects of myself or anyone else for that matter speaking to me in the disrespectful way that I used to speak to myself, and thus permit others to do the same.
Mm-hmm. And let's do a quick transition now. Yeah, like setting boundaries, but also crafting who you are, right? And I think it's a good segue into crafting masculinity. The definitions of masculinity all over the world are a myriad, but what is your definition of masculinity, and why do you think it's medicine?
What a great question, man. What a great question. Gosh, man, my definition of masculinity. I mean, I would say that masculinity is the It's funny. I think about this all the time, and I often express around it, and it's such a fascinating thing because the definition of it, even for me, is changing. Like it's sort of what's happening in our culture right now, where we're like, what is a man? What is a woman? We're chewing on aspects of this thing, and I will say that I believe that there are aspects of masculinity that are fixed, that are defined. I think masculinity is reflective of manhood, which is reflective of what it means to be a man. I think that there's an embodied state that a male can attain or does attain when he has separated himself from boyhood dependency. There's a maturity in masculinity. There's a maturity around a man that's undergone ordeals, that has awakened to responsibility that is responsibility to something greater than himself, responsibility to take ownership of his own life and no longer be seeking validation and approval from others, that he is aligned with the highest order of things or seeking a higher order. There's a generativity to it there's a strength and a protectorship that comes with masculinity. Yeah, masculinity is something that when you see it and you feel it, it's beautiful. And I think it might be helpful to speak about it in its integrated versus its shadow forms. You know, when people use the term patriarchy, which I think is actually a misnomer. Patriarchy means rule by father. And what we're experiencing in our culture is actually puerarchy, Puer archy, which means rule by boys. Rule by boys is what we're experiencing in our Western culture in a big way. And in the negative sense, you know, the immature masculine is boyish. It's self-centered. It is defined by things like seeking validation from outside of yourself. It's defined by things like insecurity, a lack of responsibility, impulsivity, fragility, manipulativeness. The list goes on. But mature masculinity, I think what's so important, and I love what's behind you asking this question, is that this is something that I think has been absent in our world and in our culture for a long time. Like, where are the models of mature masculinity? Where are the men that we can point to and say, that's what I want to be like? That's good. That's something that the majority can agree on is good. And so, yeah, these mature aspects of selfless service, of having your attention not merely on yourself, but out and on the community, on the women and the children, that masculinity is, it protects, it provides, it produces, and then it shares what it has provided and produced and protected for. I think that's enough. Yeah.
So I'm gonna challenge just a little bit, because right now I'm reading a book that's more about the selfishness, which is Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, that talked about production.
A nice small little easy read there.
Small, easy read indeed. And they talk about not living for the sake of others, but we're now talking about selfless. So where's the balance? Because if you live just for others, you ran your cup out, and you cannot be truly a provider. You cannot really create the kingdom to protect what you want to build. But if you're super selfish, you stay alone. So where do we draw the line?
That's a beautiful question. You know, what I see happening now is, for the last 70 plus years, it's been very, very much a era of the self, an era of the prioritization of the self over the collective, self-development, personal development. So much of postmodernism and nihilism comes from focusing on the self. Depression originates from being self-focused and just sort of here on yourself. Yeah, you need to have your own house in order, sort of like a Jordan Peterson-esque 12 rules of life. The first one being, you know, clean your own room first, take care of your own self first. How can you presume or even be able to help the world if you can't balance your own bank account, tie your own shoelaces, and pay for your own meals? So yeah, there is an aspect of sufficiency and stability that's necessary. But I think in our culture in particular, the pendulum is leaning very heavily in the direction of me, 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 me. My, you know, my life, my rights, my body, my, you know, orgasm, my pronouns, my this, that, or the other. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it seems to me that it is out of balance. So what I see happening is now personal development is starting to shift to communal development. It's starting to shift to groups of people and the intention on the group and the community and the tribe. And that is what has essentially been lost in our culture to the degree that most of us have never experienced it. So we don't know what's missing. We just are in this sort of ping pong of depression and anxiety because we are living by ourselves. And especially in my country, in the United States, it's been so romanticized. The rugged individual, the strong, silent type. It's like the self-made man. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. No one is a self-made man. You can't, you're dependent until you're like, even in indigenous tribes, you're dependent until you're like 12, 13, 14 years old. So we need each other. And I think we're in this era, and especially in relationship right now, in a relationship between men and women, where I don't need a man and, oh, I don't need a woman. And it's like, I'll just be on my own. It's like, okay, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. You know, what's the punishment we reserve for our most heinous of criminals? Solitary confinement. I lived in New York City for 17 years. That's the loneliest city in the world. And there is more people per capita stacked on top of each other than maybe anywhere else on the planet. And no one knows each other, and everyone is rushing and moving around and hustling. And it's very much the epicenter of me, 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 me. And me is important, but me is not more important than we. I think we is actually more important than me. I think it is. Not by a lot, but because you have to, take care of yourself. But we all come from tribal societies. If you go back far enough in our genetics, no matter whether we come from Ecuador or the US or China or Australia, it's like you go back far enough, it's smaller groups of people living in deeply intimate, connected ways where if, you and I go out hunting and, I miss and you hit the animal, you don't just like, that's mine. And you take it and you go home and I don't eat and you eat all the food. I would eat because you're eating. And then next week when I hit and you miss, say, hey, come and eat. This belongs to all of us. So we've lost a lot of that. And again, it's not to say that collectivism is the only thing and that there shouldn't be the individual. It's the balance between the two that interests me.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And you said that it's also important to talk about the big divide that's happening around men and women. So going back to first masculinity, how does masculinity become medicine? Because yes, if we have the examples, how do we get closer to those examples and how do those examples heal us?
Healthy masculinity is medicine. Like, go and be around a initiated man. Go and spend time around a man that is in his power and his generosity. He's generative, he's productive, and he's generous, and he shares, and he's present, and he's awake, and he's alive. The thing that everyone wants most from men and the masculine is what? It's our attention. They want our attention. Our women, they want our attention. They don't just want our time, they want our attention. 30 minutes of like full on, I'm with you, babe. I'm here. Nothing else exists in the world but you and me. What do we want to get into? Versus 3 hours sort of lounging on the couch on our fucking phones. It's like, it's the quality of our attention. And I'm not sure how it is in Espanol, but in English, the only thing that I'm aware of that we pay in our language, we pay attention. Pay attention. It's in the language. It's built into it. It's like the value of our attention is baked right into the language. It's something that we pay because it's that valuable. Uh, 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 uh. But there is still a borrowing, so there is still an inflection of value or money or currency, right? There's a current to attention, right? Like if I'm here and I'm kind of like I'm on Amazon, because it's Black Friday and I'm like want to get some deals while we're talking. It's like, you might not notice, but our culture right now is plagued by what's called continuous partial attention, because we are on our fucking phones all the time, which have been designed to be as addictive as possible so that we, the product, can be sold to the advertisers that are paying the the creators of this. That's a whole interesting rabbit hole we could go down too, but we won't, because masculinity and what it means to pay attention is its own reward. It's its own value system. You know, the best hunter is the one that pays the closest attention, who's learned how to track and notice the animals and feel where they are. Or the best, you know, even the best tech startup guy. It's like there's something that he's been able to cultivate and develop that allows him to be really, really good at what he does, because he's putting all of his life force, his energy, his time, his attention on that thing. So masculinity is medicine to the degree that it's cultivated into its integrated form and then disseminated, freely given to the world. And the thing that people think, and that I used to think too, because I was a people pleaser for a long time, and I would be exhausted because I would overgive and I would overgive and I would overgive. And this is part of my codependence. When I learned to have boundaries, when I learned to charge for my time, and then to have my friends and the people that get my time for free, that there's something that happens. Like when my time is valued, my capacity to show up increases. So when I learn to bring in this case, my masculine qualities online in a powerful way, to leverage them, to direct them, to cultivate them, and then to unveil them with someone, the level of connection that I receive, the gift I receive of their response to that, the breakthroughs that my clients have. It's like half the time, bro, I feel like I should be paying my fucking clients, because I get so much from the experience. And I learn so much from them and their own process and like the mirror neurons. And it's just like, wow, like this is incredible. It is my own definition of heaven on earth. The work I do in the world is not work. It is dharma. It is what I'm here to do. And I get paid to do what I'm here to do. And that is heaven on earth for me. I don't have a job. I travel the world. I go and get to spend weekends with clients in wild places, helping them, giving them, days of my time and days of my attention to help them open and expand in bigger ways. That's how masculinity is medicine. And we live in a time, again, about the last 70 years or so, where all of the attention has been put on the negative aspects of masculinity, the shadows of masculinity, the quote unquote toxic masculine qualities, which are real and have been largely plaguing both women and men for thousands of years. But the problem with that is what you put your attention on grows. And so we've been so focused on the negative aspects of men. And it turns out men are actually deeply sensitive, powerful creatures. And when you tell us all the time that we're bad and wrong and toxic and all these things, we start to believe it also. And so now you have an entire society that's really been brainwashed into thinking and feeling and believing that men are the problem. And this dovetails into the relational aspect. If you're a woman and you disapprove of men generally, or you believe patriarchy or these types of things, but you're attracted to men and you want to be in relationship with a man, nothing is going to interfere more with your ability to be in a healthy relationship with a man than your disapproval and believing primarily in the negative qualities of men over their positive and generative attributes. So that's a lot.
There's a cognitive dissonance happening and you cannot live correctly with there. Now let's shift into, I have a concept about I don't need women, but I want women. What's your take on that?
It's incredibly important for men to discipline themselves and to be able to provide containment in the conscious community, in the spiritual community, it's all about holding space, right? And being able to contain your woman. But a man first has to learn how to contain himself. And no one is teaching us um, how to how to contain our sex force as men, how to contain this just massive amount of eros, and that, the hard cock of turn on that comes in, and then you're wanting a woman, and your energy is there, and no one's taught us how to be with that. No one's taught us how to pull back from our monkey, tits, ass, and our culture now, with porn being as ubiquitous as it is really doing no one any favors. And so as men, we have to understand that we need to develop ourselves. And that's where rites of passage once were the thing that did that. Again, the work that I do here in Austin, I co-lead a men's organization here. It's a masculine initiatory path. It's a men's initiatory path called the King's Code that I run with my partner, Rob Montgomery. And it is by design a path for men to learn how to become deeply, deeply self-reliant, deeply, deeply connected to their own sense of purpose in the world. And by that, I mean not like your job, but like, why are you actually on this planet? Why did you actually come here? And I don't think it's and it's Black Friday, so I don't want to get assassinated here, but I don't think you came here to box packages for Amazon. As much as that might be allowing you to pay your bills and support your family and live your life, which is a beautiful thing. I swear to you, I'm not here to talk shit about Amazon or anyone's profession, but there's something deeper. And then brotherhood, being connected to men in a deeper way that allows us to not have to take things to our women, to not have to overburden them and have them doing emotional labor for us when we should be taking it to each other. When you have a challenge with your woman, you give me a call, or you come to the men's circle and we talk it through, so that you don't have to just turn your woman into your mom and your therapist, like so many men in our culture have been trained to do, as I was trained to do. And then finally, to develop a connection and a relationship with something greater than yourself. You can call that God. You can call that God as you understand God, a higher power. You can call it science if you want to. You can call it whatever. Just something greater than you. This process, this path allows you to not needing women to source your validation and approval from, because you're sourcing that from something else. You're sourcing that from something greater than yourself. You're sourcing it from your purpose in the world, your dharma in the world, the men in the world that you have close to you that are reflecting your goodness. And when you're out of line, they're the ones that, if they're good brothers, right? Hey, bro, you're fucking up. You're fucking up. You're not showing up in the way I would need you to show up. What's up? Talk to me. That allows us to, not need women, and at the same time, we need women, man. In the same way women need men. We're two halves of the same species. We need women. We really do. And we don't want to need women in the immature, boyish, I need you to tell me I'm a good boy. I need you to feel good about me so I can feel good about myself. It's like, no. No, the ideal position for a man is to be so devoted to his purpose and his mission and his people that a man like that is attractive. He's attractive to everyone, by the way. He's attractive to men. And I don't mean sexually. I just mean like, oh, I want to be like, there's something he's doing, right, that I want to emulate. That's the type of man that you want as a mentor. That's the type of man you want as a friend. That's the type of man you want as a brother-in-law, or just someone to be connected to you. So yeah, it's a broader question, but yeah, we don't want to need women. And we need women, because how else are we going to make children and make a family and be together and have great sex? And I mean, I guess if you're of a different persuasion, but still women, I mean, we all come out of women, man. Every single one of us, guy, girl, gay, straight, black, white, doesn't matter. We are born of woman. And what a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's crazy. It's insanity that anyone would be able to utter something along the lines of I don't need a man, or I don't need women. It's like, gosh, what 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 wounding they must have experienced to come to feel and believe that. So compassion is the response for those who have taken on that degree of an ideology.
I love that part. There's this inner knowing of, yes, you need them, but not in the codependency space, right? And maybe vice versa in the same way. And I think that dance is something what we call polarity. And then we go into polarity work. So and I think polarity is one of the key essences that keeps relationships alive. So what is polarity? What is polarity?
Polarity is math, brother. Polarity is algebra. It's a formula, it's an equation. It does not give a fuck what your feelings are, what your pronouns are, who you're attracted to, what body you're in. It doesn't matter. There's attraction or there's not. And the beautiful thing about polarity is something that you can learn. It's something you can learn to create. You can learn how it works because it's universal. It's in nature. It's in the universe. It's the law of attraction. And there are things that women and the female body will respond to generally from men. Not always, but generally from men. Just as there are things that men in the male body will respond to generally, not always, but generally from women. These are beautiful things to study. These are beautiful things to understand. These are beautiful things that are a part of our evolutionary biological makeup that is designed to keep us alive, to keep human beings alive, to make babies, to make babies. It's a beautiful thing. And as we're seeing in our Western culture, the way we're living our lives, which is, nuclear families largely, when the kids come, or when the relationship is a few years in, once the sort of newness of it has died out, because none of us have been taught or educated on polarity, what starts happening? The sex slows down and then stops entirely. The children are there, and so these two people that were once passionate lovers become co-parents and their roommates, because the way they're living their life is depolarizing the sexual energy that lives inside of every human being. It's like, oh, well, my husband is impotent. It's like, is he? Is he? Maybe. Why? My wife she's just not interested in sex anymore. Why, bro? Why? What are you doing? And can you take responsibility for something that you're doing, probably not on purpose, that is making her unattracted to you? Because to the degree that you can create unattraction between someone, you can create attraction. And, I have two amazing mentors, two amazing teachers of mine, Justin Patrick Pearson, Lunge and Angel Winters, who come out of the David Data lineage and have been doing this in such a beautiful way for a long time, where they have like rooms in their house that's like they call it alpha and omega versus masculine and feminine. So it's less confusing, because what does that even mean anymore? And so it's like there's the office, which is the alpha room, where they only talk business and they don't talk about anything else but business in the alpha room. But when they're in the omega room, which is like the den downstairs, like the cozy, cushy place where they kind of Netflix and chill, they never talk about business down there. And if one of them starts, the other one's like, nope, if you want to talk about that, you can make an appointment with me and we'll talk about it up in the alpha room. And then they have the bedroom. That's the alpha and omega room, where two things happen and only two things happen. Sleep is one of them. I'll let you guess what the other one is, which is very much in alignment with the teachings of the Kama Sutra, the sacred Indian and Vedic traditions of having the bedroom be only for love. It's why we shouldn't have our fucking cell phones in the bedroom, and it should be a place where we sleep and where we make love. And so there are two people that I see addressing this in a really beautiful way, because we don't talk about it. No one teaches us anything about intimacy in our culture. We don't learn anything about how to communicate with each other, how to be married, how to have kids, nothing about the sexual arts, the sensual arts, nothing at all. And we're just expected to somehow know how to be in partnership. And so in a way, I'm very, very, very optimistic, brother. Even with the current divorce rates and the way that people are opting out of having kids, it's like, yeah, it's fucked out there. It is so fucked up, and we are fucking ourselves up from the food we eat to the polyurethane fucking tights that people are wearing to the gym that is just endocrine disrupting us out of our hormone cycles and all these other things. There's so much working against us. And the fact that we're still procreating and still finding ways to be together, despite the fact that we haven't learned anything about any of this, tells me that as we start learning about this and as this work starts to permeate our culture, which is the second part of my mission here, mission 1, men's work, mission 2, men's and women's work, not that one is higher than the other, but I think it kind of is actually, because men, again, if you go back to tribal societies, you and I, brother, would have been taken by the men of our tribe at like age 12, 13, 14. We would have been taken away from the women, away from the tribe, away from the warmth, away from the sustenance, and out into nature, out into the raw, brutal reality. And we would have been initiated handily for sometimes weeks and months at a time in what it means to be a man and what it means to be in discomfort, to make a home inside of discomfort, and the way our sisters are brought through that process every 28 days through their moon cycle. They're brought to discomfort every month by nature itself, by their bodies itself. In the old masculine traditions of planet Earth, we would have been doing that to each other. We would have been doing that to the men of our tribe. We would have had to stay frosty, as the Marine Corps, the U.S. Marines like to say in this country, to stay sharp, to stay, attenuated to the important things, to the edge, to the knife's edge of attention, so that if the bad guys show up over the hill over there, we're ready. We're ready to go. We don't just get invaded and annihilated, and then our women are raped and our children killed and everything ends. So, what a ride.
What a ride, brother. What a ride. But let's get practical, man. So there's this guy that single. He doesn't know shit about polarity. He stopped having sex with his ex-partner 3 months before they broke up. What are steps that he can take to first build polarity within himself and then build polarity with the next person that comes in?
I think the most important thing that anyone can do, because it begins at communication first and foremost. There's a communication frame that I teach called active listening. It's very simple. It's very basic. What it essentially, it's kind of the joke of it, comes down to is like, so what I heard you say is, so the idea is that when someone's talking to you, or when you're in an argument, or when you're with your partner, or when you're with anyone, and they're telling you something, pay attention, give them your full attention. And then once you hear what they've had to say to you, the way that you prove that you've been paying attention is by repeating back to them what you just heard them say. And when I say something to you and then you say, okay, Michael, so what I heard you say is that, you're frustrated with this and you're hopeful about this and you're kind of scared about this. Did I get that right? I have no choice but to feel heard and seen and validated in my communication. From there, it's like, okay, did I get that right? What I heard you say was this. Did I get that right? Is there anything else? No? Okay, cool. Do you feel complete with that? Is there anything else you want to add to that? Okay, cool. Do you want to just be heard in that, or would you like reflection from me around that? This changes everything. Because in relationships, again, and especially when things get spicy, when things get heated, when the fight starts, everyone's busy trying to be right. Everyone's busy trying to be heard and trying to get their point of view across. And no one's willing to say, okay, please, you first. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to try to get my point across. I'm just going to be with you in what's true for you. And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to listen to you. Because you're probably right, at least about something, because I'm a human being and I'm an idiot and I miss things and I'm not perfect. So there's probably something here that I'm missing that you're uniquely positioned to see because you're my partner. And guess what? They're also probably missing something. I'm also at least probably right about something. Even if it's just a little bit, there's something there. So this frame of active listening is incredibly helpful, and it's something we should be taught as children, and we're not. But then if there's anything else in addition to that I would tell him to start to pay attention to, it's just, I mean, just go and read some evolutionary biology. Go and just sort of learn a little bit about how men and women are, generally speaking. And by that, I mean, like, generally, like how men and women are in Africa, in Asia, in South America, in North America, how human males and human females generally are, whether you're in a fucking African village or New York City. It's like there are similarities that exist cross-culturally that are real and true and demonstrable. Period. And everyone is a unique snowflake, right? Everyone actually is different and specified. And so once you start to learn the general frame of things, it's a wealth of knowledge. It really helps you understand how women are and how men are. And then you can start to apply that to specific men and women, all of whom are slightly different, but mostly the same. So it's like you start to learn about all these things, and then you find yourself on a date in front of a woman who is mostly like all other women and also only like her. And so how do you pay attention? How do you listen to her? You want women to like you as a man? Pay attention to them. Listen to them. Ask more questions. Do less talking. There's an old frame from the pickup artist world that I sort of shifted, which is that basically on a date, whoever's talking the most is in the feminine. Whoever's talking the most is in the feminine. And this goes back to sort of the tantric or sort of Eastern esoteric idea that rather than masculine and feminine, it's witness and experiencer. So whoever is experiencing life, and when you're eating food and there's this delicious food that you're eating, it's like, oh my God, and you're just lost in the experience. Regardless of what body you're in, man or woman, you're in your feminine, you're in the experience of, wow, this steak, it's delicious, right? And then when you sort of start to observe your own experience of eating the steak, you start to observe the world, what meditation is, right? Pulling up into witnessing your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own emotions. That's the witness. That's archetypal masculine. The one experiencing is archetypal feminine. If I go to a play or to a movie and I'm in the audience, I'm witnessing the performer, the actor, the ballerina that's on stage. It's like, it's a very useful way of understanding polarity in a general way, right? And when the actor or the dancer is incredibly good, it's like you can't look away. It's so moving and so profound. And that dancer needs the audience. It needs the witness. It's like, it's different, right? When like people are watching you versus when you're just by yourself or having a conversation with friends and suddenly there's a camera there. It's like something changes. Something can be brought out that brings a gravitas or more presence to the experience. So,
and there's two examples, right? It's easier for many people, and even from your mentors, Justin and London, to create content and have recordings from when they are in a conversation, and probably will have social media clips from this conversation versus you. Hey, I'm sitting now in the camera, I'm just witnessing myself. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this magic? And I found it really interesting because there's also the thing about the chef who's preparing the food, who's preparing the experience for you to experience it.
Yes. Yeah. It was a really useful frame for me. And I first encountered it when I was younger. My parents, I'm very blessed to have very eclectic hippie parents, and I was going to Tibetan Buddhist meditation like young and experiencing a lot of different religious and spiritual traditions very young. So I learned to meditate very young. And I remember having that experience of the first time of sort of witnessing myself, sort of stepping into what they might call like a samadhi-like state of sort of transcending time and space and just being with myself and just watching things and just noticing things and being fully at peace with all of existence. And then coming back to my life and coming back to like, oh my God, like what the heck was that? And what a gift, because again, it's like, I have this joke, like if I had a time machine, I would go back in my time machine and go sit next to that 10-year-old meditating who's just like pulling his hair out because it's like, I've got to be here for like an hour. Like, oh my God, it's only been 5 minutes. It's like torture. It's like for a kid, it's like, an hour to meditate or 30 minutes. That's forever. But if I could go back, I would just whisper in his ear and be like, listen, little brother, like the thing you're learning right now, the thing that you're learning to do, people are going to pay you a lot of money in the future to be able to have that capacity of attention, of awareness, of the ability to separate into witness and experiencer and to mirror other people just from that place. The value of that I would have just laughed at you. I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way. There's just no way. But, you know, it does every day. And and I still have resistance to it. And I've been doing this my whole life. I'm still like, I'll have moments where I'm like, oh, I didn't meditate today. And it's like, oh, just go to bed. You don't need to meditate. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Who is saying this? Like, who in me? Like, the benefits of this. You know how good it is. You know that you always feel better afterwards. Always. So yeah, it's it's a fascinating thing. But again, yeah, meditation, prayer, these are things that um, I think in our secular, progressive, city-based life in the West, one of the things that we've really lost at our peril is the spiritual connection to something greater than ourselves, to the importance of prayer and meditation. I think of prayer as like talking to God, and meditation is like listening to God. Yeah. It's kind of like two slightly different things, but two sides of the same coin. And how important it is, yeah, to have that, to cultivate time in your day for those things.
Do you have a specific prayer that you could share with the audience that might be useful for them?
I'll say this: they've done some pretty amazing, like I wouldn't. It's not like a study, like a scientific study, but um, with the help of these large language models now, like ChatGPT and the internet, right? You can sort of look at, and they've looked at, okay, what is all the different all the different forms of prayer, like from the Sermon on the Mount to like St. Thomas Aquinas to all the different Judeo-Christian, Muslim, even like Hindu, Eastern traditions. Like, what's the most common form of prayer? Like if there was a frame for it, if there was like a template for how to pray, what would it be? And that it's essentially, number one, instead of praying like the little kid asking Santa Claus for the presents that he wants, like, or only praying when you're in trouble, right? It's like, oh God, please get me out of this parking ticket. Oh God, please, I want a new car. Can I have a new? It's like, no. First and foremost, start with the point of gratitude. So step one, what do you have to be grateful already? What do you already have in your life that you can be grateful for? Because I guarantee you, even if you're in a fucking North Korean prison camp right now, you have something that you can be grateful for. Focus on that. Start there. Start there. And then from there, I would say asking, rather than going through your list of things that you want, asking for knowledge of a will or a message that's greater than your own mind. Connection to God's will, connected to something greater than what your own finite, limited, rational mind can conceive of as best for you. Because we just don't know what's best for us. We think we know based on all these different things, but we don't really know. And the more I've learned to sort of let go of what I think I want, and it is important to clarify what you want. I don't want to say this and have people think, oh, I just need to just go in manifestation, right? It's like, no. The masculine needs to clarify what he wants and aim and take aim towards a very defined goal. That's critical. But to me, that's meeting God halfway. And so step 1, gratitude. Step 2, seeking to be connected with a will or a spirit or something greater than yourself, greater than what you think is important. And then finally, number 3, asking for the power or the strength to carry that out in the world, to actually be able to be the greatest iteration of the man you were born to be, or the most, to be the woman that you were designed to become, whether through motherhood or partnership or even your work in the world, whatever it is. It's like, can I be grateful for what I have? Cool. Can I ask to be connected to a source of wisdom, divinity, universal love, whatever it is that's greater than myself? Can I ask to be connected to that? And then can I have the strength to carry out whatever connection or wisdom that I receive? Can I be a servant of that will? And again, you can be Muslim, you can be a Zen Buddhist. It doesn't matter. You can be Protestant, Catholic. It doesn't matter. That to me, and that practice for me, has deeply shifted my spiritual connection and my connection to God. Just that frame. And it's a newer frame for me. It's come in within the last year and a half. It's a refinement. Because I used to, when I'd do a lot of meditation, and then when I would sort of pray, it would generally be like, kind of like the kid at Christmas, like asking for things, or, and even asking for them to take care of my family, and, to heal my friends, sickness or this or that. But the truth is, I don't know what's best for my friend. Healing his sickness too early might actually deny him the lesson he came here to learn. And I don't know what's best for him, but I believe that something else does. And so seeking to be connected with that something else rather than my own decision-making process that's truly limited and can't see the big picture on things, that for me was a major frame shifter. As I'm not God. And I think in our culture right now, a lot of us are trying to play that, because we've lost we've lost our connection, largely speaking, to the religious substructure that our society is predicated on, which is in the West, it's Judeo-Christian. And dispensing with that has rendered, I think, so much of the secularism that we experience, and not for not good reason. The religions have been corrupted in incredible ways. All of them. I would say modern Catholicism, to me, and this is going to be a little inflammatory, but like, when you look at Catholicism and the things that it has produced, from the Inquisition to the child molestation cases to the raping and pillaging of Turtle Island, of the Americas, by the colonizing forces, it's a rough track record, and pretty anti-Christian, like pretty anti-red letter gospels, like pretty anti-Christian, one might even say. I would say similar to some of the aspects of Judaism and similar to many of the aspects of the Muslim faith. And they all have their brilliance and they all have their beauty, and they're all so wise and deep and profound. And a lot of the shadows are the legacy that we're living in right now in the modern world. And so how do we not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but how do we revivify Islam? How do we revivify Judaism? How do we revivify Christianity? By being living examples of what it can be like to live in a beautiful way that is generative and loving and supportive of all people. Because if it's not that, then I don't think it's actually what those religions are purporting to be.
Mm-hmm. We can go really deep on that and what is it like to live in that manner. But you said it's recent, right? So was there an event that made you say, okay, I'm not God?
To be honest, yeah, man. I mean, it's been a pretty consistent humbling these last 10 years since I found men's work. I was 35 when men's work found me. It was the thing I didn't realize I'd been looking for all my life, and then suddenly it was there, and then it was just this sort of being grabbed and gripped by something and hurled down a flight of stairs, quite literally, at one point, falling down a flight of stairs. And just, yeah, being humbled and learning to ask for help. Those are two of the demarkers of the transition from boy to man in the masculine traditions of planet Earth. A man learns to ask for help, and a man is humbled. He learns the degree of his own insufficiency, and that he's not Superman, and that he actually probably isn't Neo from the Matrix. And we're all Neo from the Matrix. And so how to walk that very narrow bridge between the two, if that makes sense. So, yeah, man.
So we talking to God, listening to God for someone who hates meditation, that 10-year-old kid who's like, I don't want to do this. How? And yeah. It can be the 25-year-old kid that says, I don't want to do this. How do I start?
Yeah, man. Well, my first church was the track. My first religious experiences came from running. I remember I didn't have a word for it. I didn't know what a runner's high was, but I remember it was like fourth or fifth grade. It was like the jogathon. It was like, you'd go and you'd get people to, adults to like pledge money to you if you ran a certain amount of laps. And I love to run. Every kid does. Every kid runs around nonstop. And having these experiences, these transcendent experiences. And then in middle school, it really started to happen. And then high school, college, it was my religion. Like running was my religion. I would go and run multiple times a week, and I would have these transcendent talking to God experiences. And yeah, meditation, when you didn't grow up with it, is very difficult to just sit and drop into like an advanced form of meditation. This is why teachers like Osho I think it was the 70s, created like dynamic meditation, which is a form of like movement and like jumping and running and jumping and running and jumping and running, kind of like exhausting yourself to the point where now you're exhausted, and then you sit and you can sit in the relief of no longer being exhausted and doing the physical exercise you've been doing. And there's a portal there. So you've done the practice with me that I like to do, the ego eradicator yogic practice that I learned when I was a kid from my dad, from Kundalini Yoga. And it's still the best practice I've found for consistently putting you in a position of discomfort that opens you up through the breath, through the rapid nostril breathing of the Bhastrika breath. And then the challenge pose of having your arms held up for 3 to 5 minutes, and they start to get sore and you start to get in discomfort and you don't want to do it, and your mind starts wandering, and it's like, then you finish slowly and you come out of the posture slowly. Oh, and there's the relief of that. And then suddenly there's a portal that opens up from that exhaustion, from that difficulty, and now being out of that difficult experience. So the way I like to stack it is I do that practice, then I'll do a breath practice, usually some type of breath withhold, some type of the Tumo style breath that Wim Hof made famous. So hyperoxygenating my body and holding my breath, and then being sort of in that intensity, which for me, just like clockwork, takes me right into before I start meditating, I'm already meditating. I'm experiencing a singularity in my consciousness. It's, the brainwave pattern has shifted, usually from delta into more of a different state. But there's so many different hacks now. I think for a lot of people, guided meditation is the best intro. To have someone's soothing voice there and some nice background music that is just in its nature, just slowing you down and helping you downregulate from fight or flight response, sympathetic nervous system, down into parasympathetic. And, some of it gets a little corny and like the sort of meditation teacher voice, right? But the truth is, honestly, I think guided visualizations are probably and there are a dime a dozen. You can look them up on YouTube. There's a couple of Joe Dispenza's that I really like that are good morning, like 20-minute morning guided visualizations that I'll send to clients when they're first starting or they have no meditation experience, because they're beautiful too. It's a lot of positive energy and positive affect and just setting your intention in the morning. The data is all there. The neuroscience is all there of how important it is and how effective it is. You just have to do it. And I think, when you're trying to sit down and engage some like a Zen, like a traditional meditation practice of like single pointed awareness on a single thing for 30 minutes when you've never meditated is insane and a recipe for failure. And so start with 5 minutes, start with a 10-minute guided visualization and start slow, just like you do in the weight room. You don't go, I'm going to work out. So you go and get on the bench press and you put 225 pounds on the bar. And then give I can't meditate when you drop the bar on your fucking neck. It's like, no. You start with like lightweight, like anything, and you build it up, just like jujitsu, right? You don't go in and start rolling around with the blue belts. You start with the white belts and you learn the basic techniques.
Well, jiu-jitsu, they put you with the violet belt just so you feel what it feels like to be crushed. But you're never going to defeat that guy until 5 years in.
Exactly. I love that.
Awesome. So you're talking to God, then you're listening to God, and then we connecting God through co-ed experiences, polarity experiences. So tell us about that. Why should people go into a co-ed experience?
Well, it's interesting. We talk a lot about this in the men's program that I run. We call the feminine the final boss. That for men, the feminine is the final boss. It's the boss teacher, because again, in traditional society, you and I would have gone through our initiation, our adolescent rite of passage into manhood first, and then we would be permitted to date and be with women. We don't have that in our culture. And so in a way, we're putting the cart before the horse. And I think our sisters out there would agree that there are a lot of men out there that just haven't been taught, that we don't know how to be with women because we've never been taught. And we've been anti-educated by pornography. We've been anti-educated often by our families of origin and the struggles between our mothers and fathers, whether they're present or not. So we have negative models that we're bringing into our relationships on top of zero education about how to do it well. So again, I just want to give us all a little credit here and say like, we're all fucked up. It's okay. It's okay. But, all of life is relationship. This is the realm of relationship. Your relationship to your sandwich, your relationship to your bed, your relationship to your dog, to your car, to your boss, to your employees, to your mom, to your dad. It's you in relationship to everything around you. And when I ask people, what's the most important thing in your life, aside from like the few serial entrepreneurial sociopaths, who just haven't haven't gotten old enough or lonely enough yet to understand that it's about relationship. Everyone says it's about relationships. My relationships are the most important thing. When you hear people on their deathbed, they're like, I wish I had time to work more. It's like, no, I wish I had more time with my family, with people. And so men's work and men's and women's work is about learning how to be with people, whether it's your barista at Starbucks or your wife. It's like, how do you be with people? And there's a way that people generally like to be related to, and there's a way that people generally don't like to be related to. And understanding what those things are will put more money in your bank account professionally. It'll put you on dates with hopefully increasingly attractive people, not just physically, but emotionally and internally. That your ability to understand and be with each other, to understand men, to understand women, to demystify men and women to men and women is such a critical part of having a good life. Again, whether you're gay, straight, bi, trans, it doesn't matter. You're interacting with people. You're attracted to someone, whether it's the same sex, the opposite sex, the other sex, trees, whatever you want to be attracted to. There is, I forget the term. It's like arbosexual. There is totally. I know, man. Trees are beautiful. So yeah, man, it's like the work that I do starts out very simple. We do men's and women's gatherings here in Austin where we're literally just getting men and women together in a room, and then almost like Quaker meeting style, where we just sort of, there'll be like a light prompt or like, what's going on? Like, who has something that they need to say? And then everyone gets quiet. And then it's like, yeah, if your heart is racing, if you're like, kind of like, oh God, you're probably the one that has something to say. What do you have to say? And so just getting it out in the open, because the things that end relationships the most, and the thing that's keeping us from being in positive relationship with each other, are our resentments towards men and women generally, and then our resentments towards men and women specifically. Mom, dad, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife, wife, current husband, current boyfriend, current girlfriend. Like, resentment stacks up when people aren't honest. And so the practice of honesty in real time. When I work with couples, this is the foundational principle that we work on, is how can you get to the place of being current with each other, which means there's no backlog of resentments. That thing you did last Thanksgiving that I'm holding over your head. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, so much of relationship has become an adversarial relationship, an adversarial dynamic. And you see those couples and it's heartbreaking. Because again, no one taught us how to do it any differently. And if we haven't gone through our own sovereign process as men and women to become sovereign men and women, to heal and do our own work, our own mother-father work, our own healing with the masculine, healing with the feminine, what we haven't healed, we take into relationship. And not only that, but before we even get into relationship, we're polarizing, which means we're attracting to us certain types of people based on the state that we're in our own evolutionary process. So it's like, if you're complaining about your wife and it's like, oh, she's the problem. Guess what? You're actually probably the problem. Like, it's actually probably you. And so it's like, it's a fascinating thing, man. It's a fascinating thing where we are. Because, yeah, I heard somebody say this the other day. It's like, oh, I married the wrong person. It's like, well, yeah, maybe. But no, I think actually if that's your perspective, that I married the wrong person, they married the wrong person. Because if you think the other person is the wrong person, you're probably the wrong person. Because they're the perfect person that you attracted to you, and then were at least 50% responsible for creating discord that you guys are now embroiled in. So And I don't say that to be harsh. I just say that to be honest, because everyone thinks it's easy and convenient to blame it on the other person. They're a narcissist. I don't know if you hear this. I hear this like from every other person now. It's like, oh, my ex, they were a narcissist. It's like, that's interesting. Narcissism, like true narcissism, I think it's like, I know psychopath, like the dark narcissism isn't technically the dark tetrad, but the dark tetrad makes up about 3% of the population. Like, maybe it is actually. I think it is narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and sadism. So yeah, 3% of the population and every single one of your exes is a narcissist. Let's do the math on that. Because maybe it's you. Maybe you're the narcissist, or maybe neither of you are technically narcissists, because real narcissists are real nasty and it's a real thing, but it's also very convenient to just categorize someone as a thing, because then you don't have to actually dive into and digest and interrogate the reality of things, which, if you're really going to do that, requires that it goes both ways. So,
And the final boss to the woman is also the man.
Wow, that's a good question. Is that true? Is that diametrically true? I think it's different. I don't know. I mean, gosh. Oh man, I'm going to need to sit with that for a hot second, but since I don't have too long to sit with it, I'm going to just say that I want to say it this way, actually. The final boss for women, and women in our culture, is their generally and specifically held disapproval of men. That's their final boss. Because again, when I work with women, and I have I've had a number of female clients, it's like that's generally the thing that's in the way to them having the relationship that they want. It's like, oh, men these days. And I'm like, no, I don't actually. I mean, I do, but how are you perceiving men these days? Because the men I work with every day are the best of the best. The men that I see and work with every day, the men my clients are already generally, but then really become, it's like, well, I'm ready for a conscious man. I'm ready for my king. It's like, well, okay, well, are you treating men consciously? Are you aware? Do you understand how deeply sensitive men are? And that when men are starved of approval, when they're starved of acknowledgement, when they're starved of being honored and appreciated for the good that they do, they literally become a husk. And so many of the men in our culture are a husk. And they're a husk because they've been turned into a husk by our culture and by women. Because not all, most men are good men, just like most women are good women. And if you watch the nightly news every night, it's easy to think that everything's bad and all men are terrible and it's like, no, fuck that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Own your part of the game, sister. And I mean that with love, with so much love, because it is, women are kind of fucked in a way, because I was just writing about this the other day. I think there's a form of feminine initiation that only starts when she's around initiated men. That when women are around men that are actually devoted to purpose, devoted to something greater than themselves, aren't just throwing themselves at women, are actually devotees of something greater, a greater purpose, a greater mission. There's nothing more attractive to the feminine than that, because they don't actually want to be the thing that can manipulate and control you. And it's their job to test you to see if they can manipulate and control you. Because if they can, then you're not living at your highest iteration. If they can manipulate you, so can a business partner, so can an enemy, so can someone else that might take advantage of them, and thus the woman and your children. So, I mean, it goes both ways. I think a lot of men, I sure did. I think a lot of men feel resentful of the testing that comes from women. But that's the biological prerogative of women. It's like, if they get pregnant with your baby and you end up being an asshole, or a psychopath, they're fucked, and so are their kids. So I think we're in this pickle where, yes, women need to start doing their part to see men differently, and men need to start showing up in a bigger way. But if no one's coming to initiate us and no one's teaching us any of this, and where is that? How do we become that? This is the pickle. We did a workshop last year where we had about 150 men and women come together for our Sacred Union event here in Austin in January 2025. And before the event started, we started a WhatsApp group, as you do, and we had everybody just like, what are the challenges that you're experiencing with men and women? And we took everyone's response and we put it to our dear friend, ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, I might have shared this with you. ChatGPT spit out 2 sentences. Women don't trust men. Men don't trust men or themselves. And that's the whole thing. So how do men become trustable? Learn how to be with and to control your sexual urges without suppressing them or completely giving way to them. Learn how to communicate. I have a whole path. There's a whole path to this. There's a fourfold path. It's a path that was disseminated from the best women that I know for what they're looking for in men. And it's a fourfold path. The first piece on the fourfold path is physical vitality. Notice I say nothing about a 6-pack. You don't need to be like a star athlete, but you need to be physically vital, healthy in your body. Healthy in your body, fit in your body. Again, you don't have to be a gym bro, but like healthy in your body. That's attractive to women for a lot of reasons. Second piece is emotional intelligence. Becoming emotionally intelligent. That means communication. That means your own feelings body, knowing what you're feeling, diving back into the body that so many of us have disassociated from, because that's the quintessential masculine shadow. It's okay, but it's also not okay to not be in your body. So how do we come back into our own body? That's the second piece. The third piece is sexually studious. I love this one. Women want a man to be sexually studious. You don't have to be Don Juan, and you don't actually want to be one of these ginormous cocked porn stars. Trust me, you don't. It's not pleasant for women. It's really not. But how do you become sexually studious? Do you know where her clitoris is? Do you know where her G-spot is? Do you know where her A-spot is? Do you even know what the A-spot is? Do you know the mechanism of how a woman squirts, if she can squirt, if she wants to squirt? Like all these different pieces. And then how do you be with a woman at the pace that women generally go at, which is often diametrically opposed to the pace that men want to go at? So how do you be with that? Study that. Learn that. Because men are we're terrified of being bad in bed, bro, right? We're terrified of that. And so because we're terrified, most of us don't want to admit that maybe we're not the best lover we think we are. And so we're afraid of educating ourselves in that way. Educate yourselves, boys. Men, there's ways to do it. You can start online. You can do it in ways where you're not like outing yourself too much, but become sexually studious. And the fourth piece is financially stable. Notice I don't say a millionaire. Notice I don't say that you have to have a Bugatti or a fucking house or any of this, but stability, financial stability. Can you hold your own center of gravity? So that if you wanted to, you can then start to build towards family and supporting others besides yourself. So the fourfold path, right? It's a beautiful path. And it's a path that I teach, and it's a path that, if you're looking to be in right relationship to the feminine, it's a beautiful way to do so.
Beautiful, man. Study. In essence, study.
Yeah. It's so cool. It's like to be able to be with a woman, right? And to shut the fuck up and put all of your attention on her and listen to her and know how to go slow with her, because and it doesn't mean that you have to suppress your turn on, or that you want to just like grab her and fuck her and do all those things. Of course you want to do that. That's the animal part of your masculine nature. That's a beautiful aspect of it. That's the lower 3 chakras of the system. Great. Hold that back. Wait. Turn her on slow. Be with her slow. Pay attention. Move your hand slow. If she pulls away from your hand, stop. Try something else. Move differently. It's so fun. Like when as men, when we can get out of our heads and out of the performance anxiety and like, I need to get it right, or I need to make her come, or I need to do this. It's like, no. Be with her, listen to her, go slow. And trust me, if you go slow and you get that woman turned on, there'll be a point where the machine gun fucking will be natural and happy, and she'll want it. She'll want that wham bam piece. But it's like porn, man. What the fuck is it doing to us, man? The fuck is it doing to us? Because again, it's like you become a good lover. It's like women, that's rare. Sadly, I think it's very rare because we have the wrong idea about what sex is in our culture. And we forget that these porn stars are not, all the guys are using performance enhancing drugs, let's say. The women are also using numbing agents so that they're able to be fucked by huge dongs all the time. It's like there's so much there that we're just not talking about. So yeah, man, it's a wealth. The feminine is the final boss, and she will show you God in a way that you can't see God on your own. And there's a way you can see God on your own that she can't show you, that you have to find for yourself. And by God, I mean God as God appears to you. So again, whatever your tradition is, something greater than yourself, a transcendent aspect beyond yourself. Because if there is not something beyond yourself, then it's just you. And let's hope to God, pun intended, that that's not the case. Because if it is, then we really are. I mean, then what does it even matter? And trust me, I spent a decade on that path. I spent a decade hurling myself down the pit of postmodernism and nihilism and all of those philosophies, man. And even if those philosophies are true, living as though they're true is inferior. It's an inferior way of living to living as though there is something greater and more powerful than yourself that has some loving, generative aspect directed towards you eternally.
Oof. Where can people find you, Michael? How can they work with you?
You can find me a few different ways. My website is probably the best way. My name is Mikaal Bates, but it's spelled uniquely thanks to my amazing mother. It's Mikaal, and then Bates, B as in boy, ATES.com, MikaalBates.com. TheKingsCode.org is also the men's initiatory path that I co-lead here in Austin. Send me a message. I am at a place in my career where I'm still, and I'm trying to extend this as much as I can, able to make the time to respond to everyone personally, to really be able to be, and serious, people that are actually interested in doing that kind of work. And I just love to talk about these kinds of things because this is how we heal. This is how the work works. And the work does work. If you work the work, it works. There's a formula here. There's a tradition here. There's a lineage here. And I think we're all longing for that. We're longing for lineage. We're longing for the opportunity to surrender to something greater than ourselves, to be guided, to be mentored, to be led, so that we can truly become self-led, but then also self-led as part of a collective. That is the community and tribe that we're all longing for. The family, the partnerships, the children, all the things that make us human. So, yeah, please reach out. My podcast is the Remasculation Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, reach out.
Awesome. Final question, if you were to say something to Mikaal Bates, the actor, 10 years ago,
Sure.
what would you say to him to give him maybe more clarity or even more connection to that God?
I would I would I would do my best to try to get him to the 12 steps faster, sooner. And by the 12 steps, I mean that part of the radical transformation I've experienced over the last year and a half is because of my involvement in what's called CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. So I mentioned my challenges with codependence. I've been working a 12-step program, which is based on the original Alcoholics Anonymous program. There are over 300 12-step programs in the world, by the way. Overeaters Anonymous, Undereaters Anonymous, Under-Earners Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous. It's incredible. And the 12 steps is a mystery school hiding in plain sight. It's not just for people with heroin and cocaine and alcohol addiction. It's been one of the most profound paths I've ever been through. And so my predilection towards that form of relating, that codependent form of relating, was so entrenched at that age, 29. God, I'd just been broken up with, which is how I came to the acting school. But yeah, I would say to him, God, I would try to get him to be less afraid, and I would try to get him to really take more risks, like to really just say fuck it all, to just in the way I was able to do on stage, like to be able to bring that more fully into my life and my relationships, because I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, man, for most of my life. Most of my life, I had a number of very subtle and covert challenges that were uprooting me from the man that I was born to become. And this 10-year journey, I mean, really this 46-year journey now, geez, it's so weird to say. It's amazing. 46. The whole thing has been the factory and formula for my formulation for this man I've become, and I wouldn't trade any of it. And I wouldn't have said that for most of my life. I spent so much of my time in shoulda, coulda, woulda. Oh, if only I'd known. Oh, if only. It's like, no, man. I choose now to believe that it's all been in the divine plan and in divine timing. And I would try to help him understand that. I don't know what I would have to say to him, short of like just headbutting him and maybe like attacking him physically, because I know that is a way that I kind of respond and kind of wake up in a way. It's like I've always been a counterpuncher. It's like I kind of got to get hit first, you know? Because at first I'm like, oh, this is great. We're in a boxing match. Like you're my opponent, but you're also my teacher. And like, bam. And then I get that first sort of jab in the fucking nose, and then and then I wake up and I get out of my head. So yeah, I might actually just punch me with love. Because God, man, it's still brutal to look back and just be like, God, I was so naive and so just out of it, and so just, yeah, the product of my society and the product of my upbringing.
It's the first time. It's the first time that I hear that. What would say to your younger self? Oh, punch him in the face.
Him in the face. Because then he'll be open to it, and then he might actually be able to hear it.
Oh my God.
And I think a lot of us, especially men, we need that. Like, and it might not be an actual punch in the face, but what's the equivalent of that? But honestly, I think that is what combat sports give to men, is like the reality of getting punched in the face, and the reality of finding yourself in a rear naked choke that you can't get out of, and the lights are starting to go out and you have to tap. And where, if that was a real fight, you'd be done. You'd be done. You'd be dead. And having to sit with that, the humbling of that experience, which is, I think, why MMA and everything has become so popular, because it's really feeding a part of the masculine psyche that's been pushed underground in a lot of ways. Yeah, I think everyone should learn how to fight. It's just a natural, healthy part of the human experience. Every man should definitely learn how to wield violence as an act of love.
Beautiful way to end it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, man, for everything. This was a really powerful conversation.
It was. Thank you for the man that you are. Thank you for the man you've become. Thank you for everything that you do in this world. I see so much of my younger self in you, and you have got such a head start on me, man, from where I was. So seriously, I hope you can take that in and know that for whatever challenges you're experiencing, that you are already so far ahead of so many. And the way I see you continuing to show up and give your gifts, not just to make money, right, in the way that we work together, but to actually help bring an ethos and a mission and more goodness into the world. I really acknowledge you, man. You're really doing that. So I hope you can put that in your pipe and smoke it, as we like to say, where I grew up.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Blessings to you, brother. Truly blessings, and thank you.
Till next time, bro.
Till next time.